Phoenix Suns at home be win and you're in, lose and you're out. Depending on obviously what Dallas does.
Right.
So getting in the depths here, even though Kevin Huerter is a Chicago Bull, the Kings still owe a pick to Atlanta as part of that trade. It is top 12 protected this year, meaning if the Kings were to be in the bottom 12, they would retain that pick. If it doesn't convey this year, it's top 10 protected next year. In other words, if it's a top 12 pick, it's a top 10 pick, which also involves the lotto as well. So here's the idea. As a Kings fan, would you rather see them make the play-in and then, odds are probably if they do, they'll play Phoenix, whether they host or on the road. It looks like the Suns are their most likely first-round opponent. And then they would play on the road the winner of the Timberwolves and Clippers, and if they won that, they would play Oklahoma City in the first round. Like that is their playoff road. And they would not be favored. They would not be favored to make the playoffs. They would not be favored to beat Minnesota or the Clippers on the road. And they would be incredible underdogs against the Thunder. So do you think long-term and take behind what's door number 3 with the pick? Or do you say, hey, look, extra basketball is extra basketball. I'm here for it. I will tell you what the fan base has said in the last hour. I don't know if you want to take a guess, Jason, as to where the fan base is. Missing the play-in entirely and receiving that first-round pick or getting the play-in?
I feel like in general when these polls come out, I think less people want to tank than you would think. Mm-hmm. But I feel the way this season has gone, I'm going to say a slight lean now towards people would rather have the pick. So I'm going to go 58-42.
Christopher Laud.
For the pick.
For the pick.
I will say slightly leaning to making the play-in, 52% play-in.
Okay. I think I would have been right there with you guys, right there in the middle. I'm honestly surprised at these results. 73% of the Kings fan base polled would rather them keep the pick and not make the playoffs. They would trade the play-in game. I should say not playoffs. They would trade the play-in game for the pick. It's what I do, but I generally lean towards the more rebuildy negative side of the whole situation.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways to look at it. The one thing that would make me, because I'm the competitor. I want to win. I want to have a chip on a chair. I think those opportunities are awesome to be, even if it's one play-in. Mm-hmm. I just think even the most optimistic Kings fan, I feel like, Dave, the ceiling is getting to OKC. Getting there.
Yeah.
So winning the 9-10 and somehow winning that road game.
Yes.
But that feels like a death march after that. Like, could you beat OKC? Sure. But just
odds
because
are
you're there.
I think
I'm hoping for a game. Like, absolutely. If the Kings are in that spot, you're like, okay, you got one. That's fun. Home, But you never know. But that's just what that feels like to
right.
me. The other part on going the other road, I think you have to do some things to assist that because, does Keon want to lose? Does Zach LaVine want to lose? None of those guys do. No. Doug Christie doesn't want to. He's trying to get this job.
That's right.
So, as an organization, wink, wink, Sabonis doesn't come back from injury. You can make it a little bit more difficult, but so let's go that road and say they don't win the lottery. They're 12th pick. Mm-hmm. Okay. The history of the 12th pick. Well, Tyrese Halliburton was at the 12th pick.
Yes, he was.
There's some others where you go. I think I was looking at last year was Nikola Topic.
Okay. Oh, not Jokic, though.
No. Josh. And like on the negative side, Josh Primo. Xavier Henry.
Okay.
Nothing but the Kings have had Jason Thompson. They've had Tyrese Halliburton. They picked 12 a couple times. Mikal Bridges. I mean, Trey Lyles, there's some guys there.
I mean, did you say Jalen Williams?
Right.
Yeah.
Is it that Jalen or the other Jalen?
It's
Either one.
Yeah, it's the other Jalen.
Oh, it's the other Jalen? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say this of the front office. I actually think they have drafted pretty well.
I agree.
So I would think if this is the front office you're going with, I think that's a skill set that fits them pretty well. I don't know. I don't think it's an easy decision, to be honest, but I think if you went that route, I think you'd have to assist in that because I think Phoenix's schedule is really tough. Dallas is hurt. You'd have to really – they're sliding now. They've lost 6 of 8, but I think you'd have to really go.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think you'd have to massage it like that. Hey, DeMontis, you've been hurt, right? And then you have a couple of options here. You have look, if DeMar is really going to ask out this summer, which is on the table, you say, hey, we're gonna do something. We want to give some of the younger guys some playing time. Maybe we're gonna work on this. Or, and I don't know what Zach was dealing with the personal reasons, but just speculating if it was something family or personal or whatever. Zach, hey, go ahead and take the rest of the year off, type of thing. Do what you got to do, be where you got to be. It aligns with what we're trying to do. I mean, there's things they could do.
Yeah, I just think everything that we've seen from this organization points in the other direction. Is to try to get there, to try to be in the playoffs, to try to win.
Oh, I think that's 100% what ownership wants.
Yeah.
From the 916, why wouldn't we just get the first round pick gone so we don't have that holding over our head? Well, the thought there, I mean, it's a perfectly reasonable thought. Hey, then you don't have to deal with it. You get the only thing worse than giving up a pick this year in top 12 would be giving up a pick in the top 10 next year. The thought there would be, well, no matter what the Kings are next year, again, unless they completely go for the rebuild, which they won't, very difficult to be bottom 10 in the league for this team, or at least anything resembling it. So if you were to stay out of the top 10 next year, that's just 2 second-round picks.
Yeah, and so let's also do the one example. Like, most likely, we think if they got through, they're losing to OKC, right?
Yes.
Is that pretty fair?
Yes.
I mean, it may be
I
wrong,
think it's fair.
So are they picking 12th or 16th? Is that big of a difference? I don't know. It could be, but the 12th could be 1 through 4. I mean, it could. The odds are really low.
Right.
But you could win the lottery. But 16, you're 16. I mean, there's
you're not,
barring some amazing run in the playoffs. But
yeah, that's it's interesting how, and by the way, the fan base doesn't speak as one voice.
Yeah.
There are people out there that are understandably dead set against rebuilding and dead set against anything that resembles that, and want to give this team a chance with adding or subtracting a couple of people. It's a tough question.
I also feel like this lines up better if they had done this with the Fox move. Fox move for 3 future first-round picks and no real players, like immediate impact players coming back.
Yeah.
Might have made it a little more difficult to win.
Yeah.
And if you did, nice bonus.
That's right.
With all these future picks.
Yes.
But I feel like then you've already started that decision-making process. Or instead, it's trying to do it now, and they're 500.
Well, and that's where ultimately it's going to be impossible to grade Monty McNair and his staff, because I would just bet that that's the direction they would have wanted to go, and we don't have an ownership. We don't have an owner that will allow that, unfortunately, and that's why we keep cycling here. You're 100% right, Jason. De'Aaron Fox is your best chance at rebuild. Either way, whether it's a reload, which means you're just making some moves on the perimeter, or a straight rebuild. Whether it's the Spurs or whoever, there are teams out there that would have happily rented De'Aaron Fox for 1.5 years for a couple of first-round picks, especially your middle of the road. Think about the difference De'Aaron Fox could have made, whatever this year, but also next year for a team, and then they take their chances. You're absolutely getting a couple of firsts and a few other things. Instead, not only did you not get draft, I mean, you got some seconds, but you also got saddled with a horrific $45 million contract, one of the most unmovable contracts in the entire sport, and the guy's fitting in terribly right now.
Yeah.
It It is buffoonery after buffoonery after buffoonery, and it's the quicker it's called, the more it's called out, the more it's focused on, and the more it's not looked at as disloyalty or not being a true fan, and the more it's looked at as the opposite. In my opinion, it is tough to speak truth to power. It is tough to call that stuff out because there is this, and I'm just going to speak on my own here while we go to break. It is tough to stand up and say it's because it's a cultural thing. I think here, the owner doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to basketball. He doesn't. And it's been proven over and over and over again. And if he was anybody else but the owner, he would have been fired years ago. For some reason, we have established that it is taboo to criticize an owner. Now, listen, if you get personal, if you say this XYZ owner is dumb, or they're defrauding the public, or they're stealing money, to me, that's all over the line. That's over the line. If you stick to pure basketball grading, what of the following am I saying that could be possibly argued with? Vivek Ranadive has enjoyed little to zero success on the basketball end since he's owned the team. It is the worst team in the sport since he owned the team. Certainly bottom three. The future is not bright. The same mistakes keep getting made. Coaches and players continually take shots at this franchise after they leave, not the fans, the franchise, and how it's run. Kevin Huerter was just the latest. Why is it so taboo to say this guy does not know what he's doing? There's absolutely no bright side in thinking that he's going to suddenly take basketball 101 and figure it out. And meanwhile, Monty McNair and Doug Christie, mark my words, will be the next casualties of the basketball ineptitude up top. At what point is it okay to acknowledge that and say you got to either step off of basketball completely, or you got to sell the team? Why is that taboo? Why is that over the line or mean, or, oh, he's going to get fired? Dude, if you're going to fire me for that, fire me today. I would rather get fired saying that than keep this job and keep trying to play this peekaboo garbage with whose fault it is. The GM said he didn't want to fire the coach. That's proof right there that you've got interference from above with people that are not qualified. And I'll say this, Vivek made his billions with Tibco, a software company. That's like me buying Tibco and then telling him, the expert, hey, do this binary code thing over there because it looks good. I have no business. I have no training. If you guys want to deal with it for the next 5-10 years, that's fine. I don't. I'd like to see my kids see a playoff team at some point. And here we go. We'll take a break. When we come back, standings watch, this lead, Jimmy Lube driving the game, 1-800-920-1140. That's 1-800-920.